So I was always surrounded by really incredible people in my home diocese. And our director of youth ministry, Miss Melissa Thibodeau, she said, I see something in you. I think you could share what's going on in your own personal faith life, what's going on in your spirituality. Would you be game for that? And so I said, I'll give it a shot. I said yes. So it started at a middle school rally. It went well. They laughed at the stories, and I was able to kind of tie some points together. And I got off the stage. I remember thinking to myself, I might have a gift at this. And I know, but like it wasn't a priority of my life. This is what I'm going to do when I grow up, kind of thing. But then eventually, I started to realize, well, if a person can articulate their faith and a person can share their faith, no matter the age, why wouldn't I? Right? Like, what does that say about who Christ is to me if I'm not willing to talk about it? Whether it's to somebody I'm sitting next to or on a stage with 1,000 people in the audience. You have to approach ministry and sharing the faith the same way you'd have a conversation with a person. It would be inauthentic of me to use high and mighty technical terms with a group of high school students. I have to use those terms when I'm writing grad school papers, but if I'm actually having a conversation with a kid, they don't want to hear the word transubstantiation. I can explain it to them, but they want to understand that it's truly Christ, that the substance has been changed. And so it's figuring out what's authentic for me and what's going to authentically connect with them. Praying is awkward. Praying is really awkward with your friends and with your family sometimes. Like, it's not always very easy to sit at a dining room table and offer thanksgiving for something that's going on in your life when you were just yelling at your mom about the fact that you didn't put your laundry away. Like, I don't know what it is that is going on in somebody's home, but recognizing that sometimes it's in that awkwardness that you're able to transcend to that level of where Christ is present. I know that sounds kind of weird, but that witness and that moving beyond. Jesus was awkward. Yeah. No, but dinner with Jesus would have been very uncomfortable. Like, can you imagine sitting across from, I mean, I'm sure he was, don't get me wrong, like, Jesus is charitable, Jesus is loving, Jesus is merciful, Jesus sees into your heart, but yeah, Jesus sees into your heart. Like, he knows every thought that's in your head. So if you know, that could be an uncomfortable moment, that could be an awkward moment, and it's in that we're saved. It's difficult for parents sometimes to recognize that a program might just be smoke and mirrors, and it's okay for a parent to say, I'm not cool with that. And then my second measure of a program, if your kid is miserable at it, they're not necessarily doing something right. They're high school kids, so sometimes their brains aren't fully formed. So take it with a grain of salt, but don't be afraid to just go and watch. Like, well, can I come hang out? If your youth minister says, no, you can't come watch the program, there's something wrong. Or more than that, and I'm not saying you need to barge into people's classrooms, but as a teacher, that transparency of this is what we're doing is very important. I can't tell you how many instances I've had of students that they're the ones inviting their friends to a Bible study, or they're the ones telling their friends, hey, why don't we go to the morning prayer that they're doing in the chapel? I can invite a kid 1,000 times, and they're just going to look at me like I've grown a second head. But if their peer that sits next to them at lunch is going to the Divine Mercy Chaplet in the morning, they're going to go. So that's, like, you are sometimes, and this is it's on Pinterest, but you're sometimes the only gospel that anybody ever reads. So Room 24, Adventures of a New Evangelist, Room 24 is my classroom number. And I teach freshman theology and realized high school students, that's a hostile work environment. Those are kids that have to be there and have to go to religion class. And if only about 50 or 60% of them are Catholic, you have to find a way, and if they're Catholic, not all of them are actually Catholic, they're just Catholic. How can I reach that? And so it's a book about the screw-ups and the few successes and how I learned to evangelize through that. And how ultimately, at the end of the day, they taught me more than I could ever teach them. So it's fun, it's funny, it's got some stories from the classroom, everything from the kid that made the Christian Mingle profile to the kid that cussed me out to the kid that asked me 1,000 questions to the point where I wanted to bang my head against the wall, but how every single one of those moments taught me a bigger lesson. So yeah, katieprejean.com, and my email is just katieprejean@gmail.com.